Good afternoon. This is Garman. So in Sketchup, I'm going to show you how to create this kind of effect where we have our text cut out of another shape, or it's kind of a curved shape of solid text. Now, one thing I want to show you, we're gonna look at this from the front. So I'm going to go to Camera, and I'm going to pick Standard View, and I'm going to pick Front. So we're looking at it dead on straight, and I'm going to turn to Parallel Projection. And this is basically an orthographic view. So you can see that our text is not bent out like the Universal logo is at the beginning. If you've seen that at the beginning of the movie, the Universal logo comes around the earth and everything is kind of radiating out of the center at the beginning. It's actually quite a complicated animation. Uh, this is not like this is ending where the text is basically straight going back, but the front and back are curved shape. And let me go to camera back to parallel perspective project. They move the camera around. So we're going to show this kind of effect, and um, I'm going to show you another. So I'm actually going to build something a little bit different than this. I like doing different demos every time I do it, but so you can see we're going to have two different shapes that kind of go together. And what we're picking is that we're getting actually the in-between part here where they're joined like this. So whatever the combination, wherever these guys overlap is what we're going to pick. So I could get a brand new SketchUp file and pick new. And I like working in metric, and so I'm going to make sure I'm working it. So I got file, new from template. And I'm going to make sure that I'm not working in inches, but I'm working in architectural meters. So that's what I'm going to pick. So um, it's good to know both, and you can actually on the fly switch units between meters and metric in the same file. Uh, but whatever you type in, like if you type in 1 with meters, 1 equals a meter. If you start with millimeters, 1 equals a millimeter. If you start with feet, 1 equals a foot. If you start with inches, 1 equals an inch. So that's the big difference. So anyway, I'm going to turn Laura off, and we're going to start with some text. And I'll do this in several videos. So now one of the things I want to do is I want to make sure that whatever I make is going to be kind of dead centered. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of reference first. And so I'm going to pick a box. And I'm going to start in the center here. And I'm going to draw a square. And right away I'm going to let go, and I'm going to type in uh, 2 comma 1, and then it gives me that shape. Okay, and then I'm going to hit the space bar and click in the background. Okay, and then H to zoom around. And one thing you'll notice is that one side of the face is dark gray, the other side is white. And what that means is that the face is backwards. I hit the space bar, I select the face, and if I right click on it and I can pick reverse faces, and I clicked off into the background, and now when I zoom, you see one side, the top side is white, and the bottom side is this dark gray. So it's kind of like what is the front part of the face? What's the back part of the face? Anyway, so I got this shape here. So I'm going to select this guy, and like I kind of double clicked it until it all got picked, and I'm going to actually copy this and copy. And then I'm going to rotate this guy. Pick the rotate tool. And I'm going to go down here right at 0, 0. And it kind of clicks. And I want that protractor to be blue. And I can click once. I'm going to click out anywhere. I can be at an angle like this. So I'm going to click once. And then I'm not clicking down on my mouse. And then I'm just going to type in 180. See down in the bottom right corner, the angles are going. I type 180 and hit the space bar, click in the background. And now I'm going to paste and I'm going to undo that. I'm going to make sure my mouse is right there, and I'm going to, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm going to pick paste in place. So paste assumes that it's going to go anywhere I want it, and paste in place means where it originally was. So now I have this weird shape, and um, I'm going to use this to do some reference scaling just to make sure that I get my type centered. And so I'm going to select all of these guys. Now, if I select right to left, left to right, you see not everything got selected. Hit this space bar to move my view around a little bit. Okay, space bar. H key to move around, sorry. Space bar to select. Everything has to be selected. Everything has to be inside the box if I go left to right, if I want to pick everything. With right to left, only part of the shape has to be in. So I could pick this entire face just by picking part of it. So remember, if you go this way, you have to select everything. This way, you only have to pick part of it. But I went all the way over here to this line on the left. And if I don't go all the way, that line didn't get picked. So I want to make sure that that line is within somewhere inside that box. Everything got picked. Now I'm going to make a group. And I hit something else by accident. I'm going to right click and pick make group. And I'm going to call this right click, rename reference one. And I'm going to go ahead and save my file. Save as. And I've already been working on this a little bit. So let me go to demo, solid, and we're going to do version 2. We'll do B version 1. Okay. And I keep this completely separate from the last one I made. So now this shape here, shape's the same on the both side, and it's kind of just going to be a visual reference for what I'm going to be doing. Way to line things up from the top and then the front. Okay, so now I clicked into background, and I have my outliner up here, and I always have it open, and you can find it up in Windows Outliner, or if you're on a Windows machine, it's a little bit different. It's kind of in this permanent right column that appears on the Windows machine. So now I'm going to get text, and I go to the text tool, and it says enter text, and what do I want it to say? Hot dogs and pickles. And I'm going to pick place, okay? And now it's going to ask me where I want it to be, and I really want it centered. And I'm lining it up by eye. So now I have another group up here called hot dogs and pickles. So I turn that on and off, and I can turn my reference on and off. So pick hot dogs and pickles. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use hot dogs and pickles as a way for me to reference my scale. So I'm going to go pick the scale tool, which is this guy, and pick, I want to make sure I'm picking hot dogs and pickles. And I'm going to pick one of these corners. I can pick that corner here. And if I scale it up, and you can see it kind of scales from the opposite corner out. And basically, I'm trying to line it up so that I see the same amount of edge on both sides there. Okay, hit the H key and move around, and it can get nudged a little bit. I'll nudge it a little bit more in a second. Okay, now my type is laying straight up, and I really want it to lay over flat. And I got to do a couple of tricks to do this. So I'm going to get the rotate tool, and when I lay it down, it gives me this protractor. But I want the protractor not to be black or blue, but I want it to be red. So I want to rotate on that red axis. And there we go. So I have to do a couple of step process. So first I need to make sure this is red. and I click once, click out, click down, drag it down, and then I'm going to type 90. You can see in the bottom corner, the more I get to 90. But if I want it to be exact, I just can type 90 and enter. And now I'm going to hit the space bar, click in the background, that kind of cements it. Now my text right now is kind of right in the middle, but it's not really lined up on anything very well. And let's say I want it to sit a little bit off the ground. And so I'm going to, no, the wrong tool, my orbit tool. I usually use the H key. And I'm going to raise this whole object up. So I pick the object, pick the move tool. And if I click anywhere on here, it can move anywhere. But if I hit the up arrow on my keyboard, it constrains it so that my mouse is everywhere, but it only goes up and down. And I'm gonna just pick 0.5 and then enter. And now hit the H key. I can middle mouse zoom around. Okay, so now I got hot dogs and pickles, and I want it to be lined up on the axis, and I don't want to worry about that right now. I kind of want to center this on the axis, so I'm going to pick that move tool, click, and then if I hit, you see that if I move, it kind of the green line appears, and that's the left arrow. So I click on the left arrow, and I want to kind of center everything on here visually. Okay, and whoops, visually. Okay, now I'm going to hit the H key, go around. Okay, so now I got my text. I intentionally want it to be wider than the other shape we're going to create because I want to cut one out of the other. And I'm going to do that in another video. So let me stop this video and we'll continue in the next one.